Hi and welcome to tutorial 63 in this series of tutorials and programs that focus on TradeStation Easy Language. If you're not part of our email list, then please go to markplex.com, that's markplex.com, and I'll be happy to let you know when I create new tutorials or release new programs. So in tutorial 60, we created a program, an indicator that looked for what we called CCI trend lines. Basically, we were looking to connect two CCI pivots and then trying to detect when the CCI broke that trend line. And you can see here on the chart, program 60 applied to a chart showing the CCI and the trend lines, and the trend line breaks indicated by these little X's. Now, I had a client who asked me, well, how could I use this to screen a large number of stocks? And a good way of doing that is to use radar screen. The trouble is we cannot just simply modify this program to use radar screen, because the lines that we've drawn here, we're not only using them as a way of visually being able to see the quotes trend lines on the chart, but we're also using them as a way of detecting what the price is at any one, or rather what the CCI value is at any one point in the chart, using TradeStation's standard TL series of functions. So we need to find another way of doing that, and actually it's not too difficult. So what I'm going to do in this 3-video series tutorial is demonstrate how we can modify the program so that it will work both on charts and on radar screen. So let's just go to the program, and what I've done is I've created a new program here, tutorial 63, which is exactly at the moment the same as tutorial 60, and what we're going to do is just go through and modify it so that we can use it on both charts and on radar screen. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is add a few variables that we're going to use throughout the program, and I'm just going to copy these just to make it a little bit quicker, and control V, and I'm going to call this one new val this bar, and this one's going to be new val last bar. The other thing that we're going to use is an additional array. The array in the original program stores information about the trend lines, for example the trend line reference. What we're going to need to do is store information about the trend lines that does not use the TL drawing functions. So I'm just going to call this new TL array, and it's going to be a little bit bigger than the previous array. It's going to have 4 elements in the first dimension and 11 elements in the second dimension. We're just going to set all of them to be -1 initially, and press semicolon. Okay, so if we go down to the program where we do the initial drawing of the trend lines, what we need to do here is make a modification so that this part of the functionality here will only work if we're applied to a chart. In fact, we're talking about this part of the functionality here, because this one here, the counter, we're going to need that also with the radar screen. So there is a way of doing that, and what it is a function called get app info, and this can provide you with a great deal of useful information. The particular one that we're interested in is AI application type. So if we just go down here, we'll see that actually that is available there. And a chart, for a chart, this returns 1. So we can just add this here and go begin. And then I like to just tab the elements within a begin statement like so, just so that we can keep track of our begin and ends and make sure that they're matched up. So this will only now work for a chart. I'm just going to put in the end statement like so, and then we're going to add some functionality that will only work when applied to radar screen. So we're going to go else if, and then we're going to use a similar construct here, but instead of being equal to 1, we need it to be equal to 2, like so. So we're going to go then begin, and we'll just put our end statement in there, ready. Okay, so if you think about, just go back to the chart for a moment. At any one time when we've reached this second pivot, in order to be able to project this line forward, all we really need to know is the bar number of this particular bar, the CCI value at this pivot, and the slope. And then for any future bar, we can work out the value just by a simple calculation using the slope and the original value at this bar here. So let's store those necessary values in our new array. So we're going to go new TL array and square brackets, and we're going to have several elements here. In fact, what I think I will do is just put those first, and then we can explain what's going to go in there. So I'm just going to copy these. Oops, I missed a new TL array. Okay. So we're going to have 4 altogether, and we're going to have 0, 2, and 3 in this part of the array. Let's just put in our equals. Okay, so in the first one, what we want to put is the bar number of the anchor bar, in other words, the second pivot. So on the chart, we're talking, for example, here, it would be this bar number for this one if we were talking about this trend line here. And we calculate that by simply taking bar number, which is a standard TradeStation function that just increments every single bar, and we're going to deduct from that O piv bar 1, and that is the actual number of the number of bars ago that the pivot occurred. I'm going to refer to this as the anchor bar. We need to store the value of the anchor bar, which is actually very simple. We already know that. It's O piv CCI 1 in this case. Then we need to calculate the slope, and the slope is equal to O piv CCI 1 minus O piv CCI 2, close brackets, divided by the number of bars over which we're calculating the slope, which is O piv bar 2 minus O piv bar 1. Simple slope calculation. And then the final thing we're going to store in here is -1, and this is just telling us that we have not actually found a crossing of that line so far, which is similar to this setting here in the initial part of the program that only is used on charts. So anyway, what I'm going to do is just replicate the equivalent calculations for the next part of the program. This is dealing with the top pivots. We now need to go and do the same thing for the bottom pivot. So what I'm going to do is just stop the recorder and then start it again when I've done that. Okay, so you can see I've now added the equivalent functionality for the bottom pivots here, and we've left this part separate. We've added the in fact that should be get application info application type equals 1 for this part of the program. Then we've added the new functionality here, and instead of using OPIV bars 1 and 2, we're now using OPIV bars 3 and 4 and OPIV CCI 3, and otherwise the logic is the same there. And in fact, I just noticed up here that I also forgot to include a then. So let's press F3 to verify and see if we have any errors there. Okay, we do have an error. Let's just go back and have a look. Okay, we misspelt the get app info incorrectly there as well. F3 again, spelt it wrong there. It's the problem with copying sometimes. F3 again to verify. Okay, and this time we're good. Okay, so that is part 1 of the tutorial. What we're going to do in part 2 is now see how we can access that new data that we've stored in this array to be able to detect crossings of the CCI trend line by the CCI. This is part 1. See you at